Okay, I'm recording this screencast just to go over the written assignment for you. Perhaps there are some things I could explain by just by talking. So the project is two parts, really. It's a museum visit, and I had given instructions about going to Spurlock Museum on U of I's campus, which is a local and free option, and I recognize that might be necessary for folks. But also, if any of you have the time and inclination to travel a bit, there's the Art Institute of Chicago and there's the Indianapolis Art Museum, and both of them are relatively close by. There are others too. So if you're going to be traveling farther and it just happens to coincide with this project, that's fine. You can contact me. But I'm assuming that those three are the best, most reasonable options. So once you've gone to the museum, you're going to select a single work of art and you're going to write about that work of art. Important is to photograph yourself next to it. If it's a selfie, that's fine. If a friend does it, that's fine. In most galleries, they allow photography. In most museums, certainly the three that I talked about, they do. If you're uncertain, you can always ask. If there's not a guard looking, no harm done. Just do it quick. Everybody does it. I do too. So as long as you're not going to sell your photograph for money, nobody cares. All right. So the writing part of it now, there are a couple of things, and I've listed them down here. Certainly, it's 3 to 4 pages, double spaced, 12-point times font, and this doesn't include the photograph that you are also putting in the document. There are 4 objectives. I'm going to leave them at that and go on here. So I want to give you an example, and I'm going to use this painting by an artist named William de Kooning, Pink Angels. He is an American artist, actually immigrated from Amsterdam, who was a big 20th century figure, one of the New York abstract expressionists. Very, very famous painting, very, very famous artist. And I think this is at the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in New York. So I'm using this as an example. Now, there is a formula for doing this here. And the formula is that content is the sum of form and subject matter. That is we can discover the meaning of a work of art if we consider the style of it and the subject matter of it, because the way it was painted says something about how the artist felt about the subject matter. This one is tricky because the subject matter is ambiguous. This is really, really abstract. What's in here? Well, it's hard to say. It's just shapes and lines and colors and some values, some tones, some texture. But the title of this work, Pink Angels, helps us out a bit. Now, I know quite a bit about de Kooning, and I know about this image a lot. So it might be a little bit, that is a factor here. You don't have to do that, though, for your own image, but it never hurts. So when you do select your image, it is worthwhile reading up a bit about the artist and the image, just to get an understanding of the context. I'm not asking you to cite any references, and I don't want any quotes. I want you to do the looking and thinking, but it does not hurt to have some background information. So, how to organize the essay. You want to start with a clear and concise thesis statement about your position on the content of the work of art. You've got to figure the content out. In the case of this example, it's tough. In some other artworks, realistic art, it might not be as hard. But either way, you've got to discern the content, and you've got to put that in the thesis statement. And I've made a thesis statement here for this image. And I say that de Kooning's Pink Angels is a reimaging of the Western European tradition of figure painting as aggressive and wrought with tension. The angels of religious paintings of the past are distorted and deconstructed to replace spiritual harmony and existential discord. Hey, that's pretty highbrow stuff. But remember, I've got terminal degrees in art, so you'd expect something like that coming from somebody who's dedicated his life to art. I don't expect yours is being the same, but that is a concise thesis statement. So you're going to come up with a position on the content. This artwork means this. And once you've done that, you're going to analyze the work visually. And you're going to use the appropriate and accurate vocabulary in the textbook and in the lectures that I gave in week 2. And when you make your interpretation, because you are interpreting the content, remember, you don't just interpret it and leave it at that. You always want to support it with something, some kind of analysis. As in this example, I believe that de Kooning's Pink Angels communicates the creative process as an aggressive act because you can see the visible force and gesture of his brushstrokes. You can see this guy, moving his arm across the canvas. And so that's an interpretation and then the supporting analysis of that interpretation. So here's the image again that I was going at, and a couple of things in terms of context. I do know that he began as a figurative painter. He has a number of paintings that start off very figurative, and they gradually become more and more abstract as he deconstructs the figures. He also looked at the Western tradition of figure painting and would paint from those paintings. So in all likelihood, he's looking at some Western European religious painting. There are, angels and whatnot, and figures that are spiritual or religious, and he's deconstructing them in this way. So I hope that helps a bit about how you can approach your written assignment. If you have any questions, please email me. I'm happy to talk with you about it.